My name is Moni and I'm a Feng Shui consultant, speaker, and author. You can tell by my accent that I am not a native English speaker, though I live in the United States. I was actually born and raised in the country of Ecuador in South America. When I tell people that I was born in Ecuador, they assume correctly that it's on the equator, but they assume incorrectly that it must be really, really hot, and it is not. And the reason for that is that the Andes Mountains go through Ecuador. So the city where I was born and raised, where I grew up, is over 9,000 feet above sea level. That is really, really high. Just to give you an idea, Boulder, Colorado is about 5,000 feet above sea level, and the average height of the Alps is about 4,000 feet above sea level. Now, when you live on the equator and so up high, many things are different. When I was growing up, most of our science books were printed in Spain, where there are 4 seasons. But guess what? On the equator, there are no 4 seasons. We only have a rainy season and a dry season. And when you are so high up in the mountains, the atmospheric pressure is very different. So the things that I was learning in school, in books, didn't match my reality. We would get these science experiments that we were supposed to do, and we followed the rules exactly, but they didn't happen because we were so high up, because we were so cold, because it was the equator, you name it. Instructions on food boxes didn't match. For example, you would grab a box of pasta and the instructions said that you needed to boil the pasta for 7 minutes, but that wasn't true. It would take at least 3 times as long to boil pasta in Quito. And so what did this for me, growing up in such a place, is that I never could take information at face value. I'd always had to consider, okay, how does this apply to my reality, right? My environment taught me to be skeptical. And then as a young woman, I studied architecture. I graduated as an architect 1 month, and the next month I moved to the United States to come and live with my husband. During my first month living in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, I went to an interview at an architect studio. And that's where I learned that my degree did not transfer to the United States. I would have to go back to school for 4 or 5 years and work for another architect for 2 or 3 years before I could even take the board exams. And I had already been in school for a long time. Architecture in Ecuador is over 6 years. I thought this was a cosmic joke because I had felt guided by heaven to study architecture. Of course, when I found Feng Shui, I realized that I needed to study architecture so that I could understand and interpret Feng Shui in order to apply it to our modern Western lives. And when I was introduced to Feng Shui, my natural skepticism kicked in. If you have been looking into Feng Shui for a while, you will agree with me that there's a lot of contradictory information on Feng Shui. There's all these different schools, and they're just not teaching different things. They're saying things that oppose each other. And more importantly, I had seen that a lot of people that were practicing Feng Shui were not ending up with dream homes. They were ending up with homes that look really strange and bizarre. I thought something had to have been lost in translation because when you look at the traditional architecture of East Asia, it's breathtakingly beautiful. So I wanted to know what was the truth. My studies in Feng Shui were guided by my knowledge of architecture with the help of mentors in ancient Chinese medicine. Feng Shui is actually considered one of the 5 branches of ancient Chinese medicine, just like acupuncture and herbalism, qigong, and Chinese massage. So I looked at the techniques of these other ancient arts and saw how they would be applied to a space by putting together Western architecture, for which I trained, ancient Feng Shui knowledge from the oldest school of Feng Shui, which is Form School, and the principles of ancient East Asian healing. I created a system to learn and apply Feng Shui that always works. And I call this the 9 Steps to Feng Shui system. And after I created the system, I tested and refined it. I tested it with volunteers in the Northern Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere, and on the equator to make sure that it worked. This puts me in a unique position to help you turn your current home into a dream home. The result of working with me is a life you love in a home that you are proud to show. After applying this method to the homes of my students and clients, I get amazing testimonials and beautiful before and after photos.